Our guests are Livi Redden and John Brancy. Livi Redden has taken the young world by storm with her recent TED Talk, her book, Authored from Her Heart, and she is recently launched herself as a youth coach. She gets real, she gets emotional, right, Julian? She actually
definitely
shares some tears in this one. And we were like watching her and the other luminary in this episode, John Brancy, make a real spark of a connection. Did you see that?
I definitely saw that, and we went all across the board from young people, from the way the world can be pretty effed up for people growing up, and kind of finding and sorting their way through the noise. We went straight into helpful habits like taking cold showers in the morning and all kinds of different breathwork tools. John gets everyone to sing in this episode, so
which really made me uncomfortable. You could see my face like clench up, like no. It was a ride between Livi Redden and John Brancy, Grammy Award-winning opera singer extraordinaire. It's going to be a ride with all four of us. We are breaking the rules of business as usual. Join this exclusive Alter Braintrust series with Hope and Julian. Livi and John, both of you have carved unique paths in your respective fields. John, with your operatic journey, Livi, with your impact on young minds in the digital space. How do you see the intersection of classical music and personal development in the digital age, John? We'd love to hear.
I like that question. How do I see the intersection of classical music and personal development? Is that what you said? Yeah, personal development. Well, I feel like if I may take classical music and distill it, actually, I think it's important because it's more about classical music is not only a category of music. It's more like picking a sport that you're good at. That's really what it's like. So if you are find yourself at any age, really, but we'll get back to that, but really when you're growing up and you find that you're enjoying one instrument over the other instrument, or singing over or something like that, it's you can really dedicate your entire life to the development of that thing. And that's what I've done with singing specifically, but I've also been around all of these other fantastic, incredible musicians that have dedicated their lives to their instrument. And I see, what the commitment is. I think personal development in this time, in the digital age, we have an opportunity more than ever, I think, to absorb and see what people are doing and what is out there, what kind of magic is being created by all of these individuals, not just the top musicians, but a lot of people across the world doing different things. And I think there could be an aspect of play that's being reintroduced to our lives through the exploration of music. And so what I specifically do with that is I encourage people to sing at every age. It's been something that I've been doing for a while, but in the pandemic specifically, I focused on developing an actual series of movement, of breathwork, of focus that allows anybody to engage with their voice in all of its facets and spectrum. And the reason why I choose the voice is because obviously it's my instrument, but also because there is this unlimited potential in that it's free, it's yours, you have it immediately, and there is so much to uncover in terms of language, in terms of dynamic range, in terms of emotional range. It's such a vastly dimensional, multidimensional instrument. So in terms of personal development, I'm just going to keep coming back to that. I think we're in this great opportunity right now to just explore what that play looks like, and how we can get closer to our own instruments, if that makes sense.
Oh, it does. It's making me think of all sorts of things. Like, what is my implement? And it's making me think of you, Livy, who is definitely a digital native. And I would say you're leveraging the digital to support human development in young people. I'd love for you to share a little bit about what this looks like in your work.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think the plight of what I do is, is it ethical for me to like be on one of these platforms that causes young people specifically like a lot of struggle. Um, and I went over that for a long time, and the reality is like young people are gonna be on there. They just are, like, full stop. And so, if I can be a positive space for them, on social media, and if I can be, a space for them to connect with each other, and if I can create a little bit more intention for them in the way that they use, social media and the communities they surround themselves with, I think that's a really, positive thing, and that's what I try to do. And actually something I've been working on making more videos about, of just ways to be more intentional in the way you use these tools, because that's what they are, is tools if used properly. I mean, it's like the same thing with money. You can use it in a destructive way, or you can use it as a tool to better yourself and the people around you.
I love that. Being very intentional. I do see you being very intentional.
Yeah, I love what you two shared for the beginning of this episode, and I want to dive a bit deeper right away into, you both were speaking about the younger years, childhood, what we choose in that time of our life. So, sometimes childhood really sets us up for the trails we blaze. We see everyone who's part of this show as trailblazers. And so what enduring thread from your childhood is still active today and empowers you and kind of motivates you to be the person you are? Livy, let's start with you.
Motivates me. I want to think on it for a second, because I never like to fall into just like giving generic answers. I'm trying to think what resonates with me most right now. I think for my childhood, as far as what motivates me, is I just don't think I don't think even starting in childhood, I think the times I was able to make the biggest change or the impact around me was I was fully, when I was fully being myself, was accepted or rejected. And I think that's what motivates me now. Is I talk a lot about living in alignment, and I think one of the cores of that is, despite what society might think about the way somebody lives or acts or thinks or dresses or whatever, how can I continually not I mean, almost like betray myself, like, because I think the more that I can just be Livy, the more I can allow the people that, look up to me on social media or within my community, I can allow them to be what that looks like for them. Um, and I think that's something, we're really good at when we're young. We're really good at being ourselves, and we're really good at being weird, and we're really good at being unfiltered, and we're really good at just not caring. And I just, my desire is to constantly revert back to that version of Livy and to stay in that childlike state as long as I can, because I think we just need that. We need more of that, because it's such a core piece of humanness that it's just a shame if it gets buried, you know?
I feel you. I feel you very much. I mean, this is why it's called breaking the rules, right? It's like there's social norms that at some age, I don't know if it's 7 or if it's 13, there's probably some brainwave science to it, but we start to become conscientious of our conscientiousness. And then we're aware that we're aware. And we're aware that the group is aware of how we're aware. And then we start to change. We start to play characters, right? John, I'll throw this question over to you because you professionally play characters. Now, singing characters, dramatic, emotional characters. But I'm really curious, maybe you can weave in the childhood topic, maybe not, but from playing characters on stage, does that help you to liberate and really be John?
Yeah, I've gotten to a point now where I've played so many different characters that I recently, with this most recent project that I did, I played a man who, in a very quick scene, it was only about 15 minutes long, played a man who was on the verge of suicide, but seemingly was very, very happy in the beginning of the scene, and was an artisan. And the opera is written by an incredible living playwright. So a lot of times operas are written by librettists, not to take anything away from that, but they're not plays. We're not always using a play to write music to. And that's what a lot of this work is, by this man named Martin Crimp. And I had this kind of, so I performed it over 24 times, I believe, over the course of a couple of months. And, halfway through, you start to really feel what's going on with a character like this, and it becomes woven into your body, especially when you're singing it and when you're enacting the movements of this event or this character. I think this can be also this is probably very, very strongly in support of acting, of learning and exploring what theater acting and acting in general is, for you, for a person, to explore the development of characters. I think, to tie it back into my own childhood, I had a lot of experiences obviously with theater growing up and with singing that led me to do it professionally. And it is that aspect of play that I get to live out as my job. And that's why, money, even though it's incredibly important to live and to be a part of this society, it doesn't always play a major factor with regards to my my dedication and my commitment to continuing to do this. It's more so about about the gift of being able to live like a child in my imagination all the time. Every new project, everything that I dive into, every character that I explore has to have that element.
No, John, I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, gosh, did you have a dream when you were little John, and you were thinking, imagine if I could be on a stage in front of all these people and share my voice? Like, did you see very clearly this vision of your future playing this role?
There's several things. I mean, if we were to talk about the manifestation of my life, because there's a little bit of there is that in at play. A lot of it has to do with people. I will say that first and foremost. It's the mentors and people who are open to being a part of your life that see that you have this desire. So that's a key point, I think, with regards to this, to our way of manifesting what we want. We have to remember that there are other people that are co-manifesting with you, that see your vision or see your dream, and they make it possible. And so that was really potent for me, because I learned my vocal technical abilities from other people. I didn't learn them myself. And that's something that I think it's so real for me, and I teach that back to other singers and other people who do not sing. But another influence with regards to my sort of vision of this was early use of psychedelics, to be honest with you, in my childhood.
Breaking the rules, John. This is allowed in this show.
I was using psilocybin when I was I think 15 to about 19, and it was it's a double-edged sword for me,
Right. Also, this is
because
not
I
an
had
endorsement, just to make sure we
yeah
say that.
yeah not exactly. It was a double-edged sword for me, because I was in a very specific friend group that a lot of us were very interested in arts, and also sports, and also whatever was coming of age while we were growing up in the early 2000s, so video games very much. But one of the major experiences that coincided with the psychedelic journey that I had was a large part of my friend group became addicted to pills and Oxycontin. And I saw how it can do both. And I will sort of, this is the mantra a little bit for me right now, and something that I'm diving deep into probably in the next year or two. But I really do believe that singing saved my life, in that when I was tripping, when I was having the mystical experience, I was singing. I was inviting singing into our environment too. Choral harmony, recordings, actually playing recordings of famous artists, as well as maybe not so famous artists. I'll just give a shout out to Eric Whitacre, this choral conductor and composer. We were playing his music, and we were absolutely having a mystical experience on it. So I think, honestly, that's just being completely frank and open with you all, that it had a major connection. And obviously there was so much that came up for me as a human experiencing that early on.
What do you default to? And how do you find your way back to consciousness to really bring out what's authentic, what's really truly you, who you actually are? Because I do believe we all have a default, and then we have like a true like pulse of love or consciousness flowing through us.
I will take a personal experience that I've had recently. I'm not going to probably name it super clearly, because it's a professional experience. But one of the things that I'm having to do a lot in my career is negotiate for myself. So I've had to learn and teach myself negotiating tactics and negotiation for the benefit of my own career, but also, I believe, the benefit of the people that I'm involved in, because I want to be as clear as possible. I don't want to mislead people with regards to what I need and what I want. And I feel like as I mature and as I get older, I'm essentially committing myself more to learning how to clearly tell people what I need and what I want without a lot of guessing. And I,
Can
yeah,
I ask you a clarifying question on that? Did you have a moment where you discovered you really weren't being clear and there was a misstep or a mishap or like crossed wires big time that you found yourself saying, shit, I'm not being clear. I want a do-over. I'm not going to do this again.
I was being asked to do something for free. I was being asked to do my job for free. And it was with an entity that has all of the means to pay for my services. And it's kind of, I think, something, especially within my industry and the world of art and creativity, there is a lack of understanding of what the value is that you bring to the thing, to the event, to the organization, to the brand, to all of that. And I had to ride the line personally of anger and frustration over the fact that I was being asked to do something for nothing. With a lot of energy input from my end, and also understand that if I were to go about asking what I need for in this way, with anger and frustration and all of this fear and energy this way, I wouldn't get what I wanted. I know that. That's like the knowing coming in. And so I played the game. I played the game. That's what I did. And I started reading up on how to negotiate and what negotiation looks like. And technically, in my industry, you're supposed to have a manager or an agent do that on your behalf. Well, I lost my manager in the process of that experience. So I was completely alone. So I really had to do it entirely by myself. And this was pretty recent. But I have to say that I think dealing with it in this mature way, but also with honoring myself by doing it with all of this detail, the outcome has been fantastic. It's exactly what I'd hoped for, honestly.
You got to tell us more. I see Livy's face and Julian's light up when you said I was being asked to do my work for free. I could see her face. And feel free, Livy. This is
I'm not surprised.
Get into it with John.
Neither am I. I mean, we've all been asked to do things
So
for free that we
real.
should properly be paid for, no? Livy, you were head bobbing as well?
Yeah.
Just in the space as like a video creator, and I've been making videos for like pretty much every day for I mean specifically on TikTok for 5 years. I don't know, something like that. And it's it's interesting kind of having to almost explain, like there's a lot more technicality and whatnot in when you're doing something that is as a content creator, that's like a continual thing that I'm learning about, of what is worth what, how to navigate those conversations, what's worth saying no to as well. So yeah, I'd be curious to hear more about that negotiation experience.
Well, I mean, this one particular experience is important to me because it was me for me. I was negotiating on my own behalf. I would say, because I've had some experience also of negotiating my value in 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 the space for content creation. I think that is a different world. It's a different world, because there is such a vast array of what we can create. I think that the creation possibility in the digital world, in the content world, is a lot more, is less uniformly specific. And it's more about, even more so about, what is your reach? What is your ability to reach the most people, and with your message or with your brand, et cetera, et cetera. But with my involvement in reality, in the physical world, and when I am talking about what I'm bringing to the table with my voice specifically, I'm bringing a triple A, moment. That's what is really the difference. It's unrepeatable. It's not something that can be copied and pasted. It's not something that can be played over and over and over again. You have to be in that moment experiencing what I do. And that for me is the driving force and the driving factor in how I view my negotiation for what I do. Because like every major musical artist, I'm going to take Taylor Swift. I'm going to call her, because she's the most major musical artist in the world right now. She is selling experience. She's selling the experience of being with her, and now her experience is so worth having that she's made $1 billion in the movie theaters, to experience her music and the moments that she gives. So I think, because she's ascended in terms of this, in terms of her character, but in terms also of her negotiation of herself, and how she's been able to dominate a insane market for herself. She's winning. She's winning that both sides. She's winning the side that's in real time, in reality, and the one that's generated through pure digital space. So
She is definitely an example. I feel like many people are referencing her. There was something in what you said, John, when you were talking about negotiating for your worth, and the point you made about not responding with fear or anger or frustration. And for me, and I don't know about you, Livy and Julian, but this is where it gets really interesting. And how do you overcome that human nature that comes roiling up in a difficult conversation as a reaction of like, how could you possibly ask for this? Or like coming up with that full force of emotion. How do you regulate that? How do you regulate yourself, John? I'm really curious to hear that piece, as I work with many entrepreneurs who are asked to do things for less or cheaper or speak for free, and that is sometimes the hardest part of this equation of regulating your initial reaction response and coming to it with a more moderated, grounded consciousness that yields the results you want.
yeah, I mean, I think if this is of use for anyone listening,
Yes.
I think that we have to kind of remember. We have to remember what we're doing here. What is our purpose? You're offering yourself. You're offering your abilities. You're offering your life. You're offering your moment. And I think when you come up against any sort of adversarial energy with regards to what your worth is, it's always going to serve you to remember your own purpose, your own offer, your own service first, and then the other person's, the other character. And then there's the space in between. Then there's the argument that's being developed, or the conversation or the communication points, right? That's a different thing. Remember your service, remember your offer, remember your worth, remember theirs. And then whatever's in between, that's the thing that can be manipulated and molded. It's not them, it's not the other person, it's not your own personal thing that's being attacked. It's this moment that will fade and that will change. And if there is a no, we're not doing this, that's okay. That's totally fine. I've had to say no to so many opportunities, actually. And one of the biggest parts of that is because I'll already have an opportunity. I'll have something else that's locked in, contracted, ready to go. I have to learn the music. I have to be there. But 3 days will be the difference, or something like that, of an overlap of another amazing opportunity, but I can't do it because I'm already committed to the other thing. And that's not a negotiation of, me talking to the company and being like, well, I have to do both of these things. I have to make it work. It has to be for me. It's more so like accepting that I'm in service to the thing that I have given my life over to, which for me personally is singing and sharing the voice. That's really like my main purpose. I believe that. So it's like, if you can find that for yourself, and then that is the default in these scenarios for you, I think that it's a kind of a winning scenario. I don't know. Again, I'm using this weird like term of, you're a winner, we're winning, but it's kind of interesting.
I would say you're using the thread of worthiness, really. That for me is what's ringing true,
Hmm.
is our own worthiness, and how do we cultivate that?
Yeah.
Sounds like you've spent a lot of time and energy, and dare say love of yourself and your practice and your vision,
And a lot of sacrifice. It comes out of that. It comes out of sacrificing to knowing what's worth it.
yeah. I feel like I've spoken to you about worthiness in young people, Livy, a lot, just them showing up. And I remember you sharing a really poignant, simple truth, which is, young people, or people being seen and heard, really contributing to worthiness. I wonder if you have anything you wanted to share around that in your experience.
Just as far as how that contributes in their feelings of worthiness.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's I mean, I think it's everything. That's that when we're going back to difficult conversations. When I first started making videos, when I first got on TikTok specifically, which is my main platform, I made comedy videos. That was what I did. And I made skits, and I do open mic stand up here and there. I love comedy. And which a lot of people don't know. I'm funny, I swear. Just kidding. No, but it doesn't fulfill me the way talking about things like this does. Like, I love to laugh. It's it's gotten me through like the worst times of my life, just laughing. And stand-up comedians have gotten me through some of the toughest times in my life. And but I then started making, this more about life and about growth and about love and about self-exploration type content, because I think at the core, that that fulfills my mission more. But when I started making that content, what I'm trying to get at is I was very information heavy. I talked a lot about, like difficult conversations, for example, like let's stay away from always and never, and like very like tactical things like that. However, I started to get messages from young people and comments, and they're like, I love you and I love your content and I love following you. However, I sometimes dread seeing your videos because it reminds me that I could be doing something else, that I could be something else, there's just something else I could improve in. And sometimes that feels like a lot. And so I switched my main messaging to being, well, how can I make people feel seen and heard? And how can I tell my story and hopefully people can see themselves in that? And I think, the core of people feeling, worthy of love, worthy of an opportunity is, starts with, feeling it's hard to feel seen and heard by yourself if you haven't really had a space where other people made you feel seen and heard, I think. So my hope is that in helping young people feel seen and heard, they can then allow themselves to be seen and heard by themselves. And that will create roots in worthiness. I think worthiness and, creating a space for people to feel seen is, they go very hand in hand.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about both of you. I want to like dive into some specifics. Speaking of telling stories and speaking from your truth or from your perspective, John, you have devoted your life to your instrument and your craft. Livy, I feel like you're devoting your life. I'm watching you in the last few years. You're on the younger age spectrum, but you're devoting your life to your voice, your craft. What are the habits or rituals that you have in your lives that keep you grounded, that keep your, with all this dedication and focus and determination? Like, how do you stay grounded? What rituals have really worked for you?
Well, water. A lot of different experiences with water, funny enough. Well, I have to be so hydrated to sing, but also to teach, right? And I also have found as I've gotten older that like my experience with being in different forms of water physically are actually really giving me a sense of rejuvenation. And so recently, as many people have, which is an amazing thing, I think. It's a realization that we've all kind of, not all of us, but a lot of us are coming to, is the benefits of cold water. I really do a cold shower every single day, and that's been over the past 2 years now. And so it's like that is like one area that I wouldn't, because the normal things that people would say for, I think, it's just like, I'd be like, I meditate, because I do meditate as well. But I think it's like, why not mention the things that you also do every single day, which I think for me is this over consumption of water, in not just like drinking it, but also like being in it as often as possible. And now I'm also swimming, and I have made it an effort to like go to this Korean spa like at least twice a month. And like, it's like part of my instrument now, my part of my like keeping the instrument good kind of thing, like as if you had to like get a piano tuned, you know what I mean? Because a
Oh my
piano
gosh,
has to be tuned.
you're speaking my language. I probably am more dehydrated internally And I'm reminded this by my kids who started a water chart on our fridge. But be immersing in water, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I call it bath soup, and I have Epsom salts and essential oils. And I will go in there sometimes twice a day when I'm feeling ungrounded or I'm feeling kind of tired. It actually, we call it changing the channel in our family. We need to change the channel. So
I love how wonderfully weird you all are. This is great.
I know.
When John was talking about the cold showers, Livy was like, fuck no, over there, you know? But then I also... I agree.
I mean, it's like, it is kind of like, for me, it's, I don't know, just, if I'll sometimes, you know, you wake up and you have tension, you know, and with what I do, when I'm performing frequently, I'm also flying and I'm also sleeping in other beds frequently. So long 8-hour flights to Europe and then sleeping in another bed with a different pillow setup, et cetera, et cetera. You know, it's the compounding of these things that really kind of creates tension. And I think I'll wake up some days and just be like, I have a massive headache. And it's mostly from the tension that I'm holding in my body, from also the stress of the performing that I'm doing, et cetera, et cetera. And I swear, one of the things that if I do it first thing in the morning, is a cold shower, intense breathing, either laying down like holotropic breathing or just like some other form of intense Kriya yoga breathing. You're enlivened. Your body is changed. You're literally in that time frame of 15 to 20 minutes, it will completely alter the course of the day, physically feeling, which obviously alters so much more of your day. So that's like, honestly, that's it. I don't really want to say too much else, because I feel like it's just something like hydration and water and being in water and breath. It's just like, it's all linked. It's all connected.
Well, you're so spot on, right? Because it's scientific fact. I mean, we're about 3 trillion cells. Each of those cells has a certain kind of voltage. So if you can magnetize these 3 trillion cells to switch the channel, right? You're literally switching the current that you are. And so that catalyzes everything else. And we live on the blue planet, right? So there's maybe a connection to water. We're 85% water. John, I love you for many reasons, but that was a great answer. Livy, what about you? You were like, no to showers, cold showers suck. What's your answer?
I was laughing too, because I had just had a conversation with my business mentor like a day or two ago, and he was like, he loves cold showers, and he was like, I'm telling you. And I was like, listen, I can't. And here's the thing, it's not about being cold, it's being like wet in a shower first thing in the morning is just like not for me. Like, I don't like, I love a cold plunge. I did cold plunges a lot because I grew up an athlete, and so I love a cold plunge. So I think if I could get somewhere to do that, that's A1 for me.
There's definitely a difference though from the plunge to like cold water falling on you. You know, there's like,
what you say is more, because I've done both. I live close to a lake, and plunging into almost ice water with your whole body compared to having the water rain down on you in the shower. For me, the plunge immersion is so much more bracing and shocking to my nervous system.
Yeah, but I think there is something about your head being first with cold water. I think there's like, it's the opposite. Like, you don't want your face.
I love it.
Yeah.
I have an opinion too. I've done, days and days, hundreds of days of consecutive ocean bathing out in British Columbia. And I would much rather jump in the ice cold ocean than take a cold shower first thing in the morning every day. It's so uncomfortable. And like, to Livy's point, I mean, there are some mornings when I need it, but usually a shower for me personally needs to be something comfortable. I mean, I'll shower off cold at the end and, like go through the resistance, but I want to feel good. I don't want to stress myself even more. I mean, I'm on the opposite spectrum of that equation. And honestly, I think John is so right. It's all total fact. But then there is a personal choice to how we pull these tools in. And there's also something about this like cozy hot shower that just like warms you up. And afterwards, I mean, you know, you just feel so good. I don't know. Do you guys don't make that experience?
Oh yeah. There's definitely room for a hot shower.
Yeah.
We're not only doing cold showers here, okay?
Go ahead, Hope.
No, I wanted to hear I know you've got some rituals and habits that you do.
Yeah,
love.
rituals. Last thing on the shower is just like, I'm a clean person. I just don't like showers. I shower, I don't enjoy it. I'm sick of it. It's like I gotta shower every day. I gotta like, I just don't like showers. What they're warm or cold, it's just like, like no one agrees. Like very few people have agreed with me on that. Just like something about like having to get in a shower. I think it could also be like I have naturally curly hair.
Yeah.
And so when I shower, it's like it's fluffy, or I've got to put it back, or I've got to do my routine, whatever. Anyway, rituals. The interesting thing that came to mind was just allowing myself to be human. What I mean by that is for a really long time, so I grew up in a house where my dad was terminally ill, and I was the peacemaker, and I was the calmness in the chaos. I was the connector in difficult conversations. I was, and it wasn't even so much that I was forced to be that. I almost like took on that role and attached to it. Like that's who I was as well. And because of that, starting in my youth, I almost rejected like a lot of human behaviors, like too much anger, too much sadness, like too much anything. I couldn't be too much of anything, because if I did, I couldn't be the calmness. I couldn't be the very level person that I needed to be at times. But looking back, I was like, she's a child. And so now something I've really been focusing on, because I then took that into my career of what I do now, where I am a young person in my space. And so I thought, I have to be this like yen, like perfectly yen zen calm individual to like be a leader in a space that talks about emotional intelligence. And actually what brought me to the realization of like that I've neglected so much of my humanness for so long was coming off my antidepressant recently. And I've been fully off it for like 4 months. I've been on it since I was 17. And it allowed me to it allowed me to be that easier, to not be as human, to not feel as much. And I was like, awesome. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to not feel as much. I'm supposed to be even. And after coming off of it and, like crying regularly for the first time in years, which has been super uncomfortable, at first made me feel really upset. Like I can't function, or I can't be what I always was. And so there was this detaching of this label of like, Livi doesn't feel too much. Livi's the rock. Livi, like things roll off Livi's back. And so what I've been working on now is like really feeling, and it makes me a little bit emotional, but like really feeling everything, and like listening to really angry music and letting myself be angry and like punch that pillow and scream, and letting myself cry on calls, and letting myself be sad, and letting myself relish in my humanness, and letting myself just I also never really let myself be a teenager. Like I was such a good kid, and I didn't do drugs, and I was straight line, and like letting myself like like be the teenager that I never was, because I had such a chaotic household, and so I became an adult at 13. Um and so that's been like what has been really grounding me lately, is just like being proud of my humanness, and being proud of like the neuroticism that it is to be a human, and the chaos, and how beautiful that is, you know, and how beautiful to see how that chaos interacts with each other for the better and the worse.
Livy, I can see everyone's faces opening and relishing your humanness. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Your words touched my heart, and I'm so thankful that you are a voice for younger people to hear. And in hearing your story about holding the calm and being that very level energy in your household, the good girl is a very common theme, or the good boy, common theme that I hear a lot from other humans. And also your sharing of feeling your feelings, and how we can start to bring those together, or start to dispel our good girl or a good boy masks or hats, whatever we want to call them, and let ourselves feel our feelings. And I want to thank you for being so honest. And it touches me, because I would say that's one of my rituals, is feeling my feelings, for sure, embodying it for myself, for my children, for the leaders that I work with. I would say I work with a lot of top performers at the top of their game, whether they're entrepreneurs or founders or just humans really striving, and there often isn't room to feel their feelings, and they often haven't seen others feel their feelings, so it can be an uncomfortable place. But I'm just, it's wonderful to see you in the space of just a few minutes reveal so much about you. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's I think it's a pretty common theme with young people as well. And so I think coming off the antidepressant was one of the best things that ever happened, and I've seen stuff manifest in my life so much quicker, because I'm able to live so much more from my heart now.
That's an interesting parallel and observation. And
I'd like to
kind of
offer
full circle.
something.
Yeah.
I'd like to offer something up here. Have you explored singing?
Yeah, I've I've wanted to. I've always wanted, because I think I have like a particularly, a lot of people really like, they say I have like a podcasty voice, and my voice is kind of like, but I've always wanted to, because I sing a lot. My family sings a lot, but we're not really singers. We just sing a lot. We sing around the house. We sing in the car. We sing a lot.
So I'm gonna
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk directly to you for a second, if that's okay, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like that you're talking about singing a lot. When I talk to people who I have one-on-one sessions with and that I work with in terms of finding their voice, my whole philosophy is that singing is our sixth sense, using our voice to sing, to resonate, to vibrate from our throat, connecting our brain and our heart at the same time. You don't need words. You don't need language. You can actually resonate and intone intention. You can resonate and intone emotion, and you can resonate and intone harmony and cosmic concepts. So the fact that your family sings, there's a lot going on with regards to that energy that's happening, because it's not just the words, it's not just the lyrics that are coming out, or the it's the energy between you. It's the shared vibrations that are happening that are beyond the words themselves. So I'm going to take you now specifically, and everybody, and both of you too, Hope and Julian, you're gonna join me on a exploration of yourself as the singer. You are the singer, okay? So I want you to find yourself now aligning your spine, finding yourself like seated really comfortably, and everybody who's listening or watching can do this with us. We're just going to roll our shoulders up and back so that we can find the most optimal space in our chest and our throat. And we're going to begin to look forward. So we're going to open up our gaze.
Would it be helpful to start with a cold shower?
No, we don't have to go get showers right now.
I know. I'm going to run and have a cold shower.
Yeah.
Excited. John,
All this is, yeah.
John, I have to just feeling my feelings and following your thread, Livy, the feeling of fear that is coming up in my body as you're asking me to sing is palpable. It's like right here. I'm going to share it. It's like right here in this part of my chest.
Well, we're going to utilize that because it's, okay. I don't know if it's fear as much as it's excitement. Maybe they're a little bit of both. But basically, the first step to my series of how I engage people to sing is specifically to look forward and open your eyes. So if you're driving, keep your eyes on the road. If you're not, and if you're stable, if you're sitting down, join us. But if you're just looking forward, if you can just see everything in your peripheral gaze, as well as the gaze in front of you, you're opening up your dual awareness, your ability to have external and internal awareness at the same exact time. So that you become aware of what your instrument is doing and will do in the space that you inhabit, but also within your body, because you cannot see your voice. You can only feel it. You can only see with your feeling. So keep your eyes looking forward as your brain waves move now into theta. So we're going in between a meditative brainwave, actually, and a very active focus, utilizing the right side of our brain. And from there, we engage our inhalation through our nose, but I want you to feel your air, breathing it in, back straight to the back of your head, as if you're feeling the cool air passing, or if you're smelling a rose. So smell that, smell the rose. Fill your lungs entirely, and then just breathe out your mouth. A thin stream of air. So that's the process of the breath. As we look forward, as we open our gaze, as we become both dual in our awareness, externally and internally, we breathe in again to the nose, all the way back, feeling cool air filling our lungs, and then breathe out on an S. That's your thread. That's the thread of air that you utilize as your engine, as your fuel to sing. Okay? Just giving you this very, very quick overview. You are all going to be singing with me right now. Okay? Then the next thing is we are experiencing both parts of our external and internal awareness. You're going to start getting actively connected to your voice. Okay? And the ways that I like to do that are through tapping. So we tap our chest, tap the sternum, the largest bone in your chest, and then you're going to tap your sinuses. Because these are the two parts of your face and your chest above and below your larynx, your throat chakra, that are going to vibrate against the air that you're going to put on your vocal cords. Now, the first sound that you're going to make for me is the easiest and simplest vowel. It's ah. Say ah.
Oh.
Everybody, ah.
Oh.
We're going to breathe into the nose, and you're going to match my pitch. That's all we're going to do, but you're going to keep your gaze open, okay? You're going to hear my note, and then you're going to match it. So breathe in, hold it, match my pitch. Ah.
yours is very long.
Yeah. Mine is very, very long.
I didn't
You've
know
got
gun for length.
This is, yeah, this is like a short preliminary. I just wanted to offer this up because this is how you can enter in to a state of singing whenever you want. This is something that you can actually have access to, like you're sitting down to meditate. It's active, it's engaged, it's part of everything that you are made of. And that from there is just the initial thing that you play with. You just go, you just take that, and you can make any sound you want.
I love it, John. Please take us a level deeper. This is the sixth sense, aka the singing sense, the sing sense, with Grammy Award-winning opera singer John Brancy. Please take us a level deeper.
You want to go another level? Okay, we're going another level.
Julian is loving this. He's like, "Come on, Hope, let's fajondalize this singing."
So we just intoned one note, right? That's just the singular note I didn't hear you guys, so maybe I can hear each one of you individually if you want, or we can go to something else if you're not comfortable with that. But
I'll do whatever.
You're good with whatever.
Do another exercise so everyone who's tuned in and listening can kind of do them along with us, because I feel like, warming up my sing sense, like a Grammy-winning opera artist, is a total gain.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it based on dynamics. I'm going to do it based on the dynamic range, because you'll find with just dynamics alone with the voice, you'll be able to experience a new range of vibration and a new range of resonance, and a way of experiencing your physical, emotional self. There is an intelligence in our voice that we can experience just through dynamics. Soft to loud, back to soft. That's what we're going to do. So I'm going to show you as an example, and my microphone will probably peak, and that I apologize for that. But maybe I can actually hold it away for this. But so basically the example is like to go back into the state of singing, which is what we're calling it, the sing sense state. You're opening your eyes, you're breathing into the nose backwards, feeling the cool air. Starting small. So you're feeling, as much as you can, the full spectrum of your sound. We're going to do that together. Yeah. So there is a vulnerability in both the softness and the intensity. And I want you to lean into that feeling of being vulnerable. That's how it's going to feel. It's just, you're going to feel this. Okay. That's the whole point. Looking forward, enter into the state of singing, opening up your eyes. Try to reduce your judgment, seeing your throat, seeing your body from within. Breathe into your nose, cool air. Hold it. Start small. One of the key things with this, with dynamic range, is your ability to support the fullness of the sound, the entirety of the length of the phrase, of the note. And that is only possible through training your breath and being able to hold the flow, the thread of the air for more than 10 seconds. more than 20 seconds, more than 30 seconds. So that makes it really, that's what also makes this kind of like training to be an athlete, because you actually have to put in the time to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's a lot of what singing is. It's a lot of what instrument playing is. You will develop calluses on your fingers when you play a string instrument. They will hurt. You know, it's not comfortable.
Do you develop calluses on your diaphragm? How does that manifest?
Tension.
Tension.
Yeah.
Okay.
You will develop tension. And you will have to deal with sickness and sing through it, you know, when it comes. But I don't know, Livy, did you feel that at all?
Oh yeah, I love it. I mean, I'm a big breathwork person. I love breathwork. I've meditated, you know, since I was like 14, pretty religiously. Have moved a little bit more into liking breathwork as of lately because I have a lot to release. But yeah, it's interesting the way exactly what you were saying before we did the exercise. It's a different dynamic, and there's also something really beautiful of like matching someone's pitch as well. Exactly like you were saying, like there's so much magic in vibration and energy, and when you're at the same like pitch as somebody, it's fun.
Yeah. So I actually, to this point, I'm on TikTok, but my whole thing has been about getting young people to sing and having them match my pitch or harmonize the note that I'm making. That's like what has made my account actually grow on TikTok. That's the only thing that I've really posted. And I will hold a pitch. I actually had Charlie Puth do like a duet with me at one point.
Oh, really?
No way, that's cool.
Yeah, he did.
His
like
perfect pitch thing.
Yeah. So it was something that spawned as an idea out of doing this work, but also in the pandemic, because I had a lot of free time. And it's something that I've wanted to get deeper and deeper into, but I just thought, you know, why not give it as, because it is like kind of talking about that thing that you were talking about earlier with regards to like what type of content you put out. Sometimes people can feel a bit like, well, why am I not doing that? I'm not doing enough. And I was putting stuff out that was a little bit like that, like you could be singing, you could be doing this. And that was actually, it was good for some people, but some people were being like, I guess I'm not a singer. I guess I'm not doing this. And I was like, maybe we should just sing. So that's when it evolved into that next thing, which was like, let's be simple about this. Let's actually just do the thing. And yeah, I'm just going to keep exploring it more, because I actually do think that there's a lot to be had with group singing and utilizing the platforms to harmonize and to resonate in this way. I think it's like really, there's something very, very spiritual and profound.
Where were you when I was little? Where were you? It's
Her singing?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we were talking about mentors and people who made a significant impact in your lives. And when I think about singing, I think about a kind of crusty old English teacher. He wasn't teaching English. I lived in England, and he would get us by the piano, and he would really berate us and make fun of us.
Yeah.
And sort of like this humor and how far can he push it. And I think he just kept making fun of my voice over and over again, to the point where I was like, okay, never mind.
I think that actually stems from our deeply traumatic and misguided system of utilizing singing for religious purposes.
Yeah.
I think that that's actually what it stems from, because there's a sort of perfection.
Yeah.
And I use air quotes there, perfection in singing for God.
Right.
And singing for the church. And this has been something that I have been following as in my life and in my sort of studies of singing, and the church and Christianity in particular assumed the ownership of the voice and utilized the voice as a means to worshiping the dogma. But the voice is the thing to worship. The voice is the worship.
I like where you just took it, John. I do want to double tap on this topic with opera, right? Because opera is ultimately, you said it, it's a sport of high performance singing in which you get highly and heavily critiqued on singing this old ancient piece of music in just the right way, that the right guy at the very front says, you're the one, the others go home, right? So there's such an interesting element to how at the peak performance, even opera, which is such a beautiful way to transcend the present moment into this, like spiritual experience, as you say. Do you want to touch a little bit more on that? Because I feel like both the religious background as well as the path of how opera has traditionally been kind of maybe have an overlay there. And I know that the sing sense, the sixth sense, we're all breathing and cold water fanatics on one way or another. We learned this today. Where do you see this going?
Well, it's interesting because the world of opera is, from my very, very, very close perspective, and is changing for the better, and for the necessary. It had gotten stagnated in a lot of ways. And it's such a strange culture because there are purists and traditionalists and conservatives in the art form, but the art form is itself is designed and desires to evolve, just as we desire to evolve in consciousness. So opera, in one way, is, by some people, wants to be packaged and held and kept in this beautiful little box, and that's all it can ever do and be and say and etc. But actually, in reality, in truth, what it is an ever-evolving art form that is completely fluid and has no definition. It is encompassing of all art forms and all ways of doing things, and that's how it was designed. So you have actually now in the 21st century, you have the full polarization, the full dichotomy happening at the same time. Essentially two versions of opera that exist, two completely different versions. One is completely dedicated to the evolution and the development and the exploration of new on all aspects and variations. And the other one is 1000% dedicated to keeping it pure and traditional. And I would say that in spirituality, we have the same exact thing. We are experiencing both polarized opposites simultaneously. And that is an amazing revelation because we could, if you wanted to, go study at a monastery right now and study the ancient, techniques of the monks. Or you can go live in a commune in some place and literally live a polyamorous experience. I don't know. There's so many different options. And maybe that is essentially what this whole idea of the age of abundance is, right? It's like the choices are so vast and so unlimited that the only thing that we can really define them as is unlimited, is as it's all one thing, but within it, there are these extreme spectrum differences. But I will say this about singing specifically, and that again is no one thing owns it. No one person can own your voice or the act of doing it. It's not to worship something. It is worship. It is itself faith. That's what it is. It's not for something else. It's not for an institution. So that's a philosophy that I maybe have never voiced, but maybe it's like,
well, that's
here.
where we come together in these moments. Beautifully put, John. And we've been fostering a friendship for many years. It's probably a decade at this point. And you do make me sing, and have, both in the shower as well as like in my car, all of the places. But I'd love for this super fruitful conversation to kind of conclude. I have a last question here that I'd love to ask Livi, especially you, but also hope you. And this comes back down to what John just said about our ability to make choices, our ability to make intelligent choices. And I think, Hope, you kicked it off with what it takes to thrive 2024 and beyond. Times are changing. Usual is out the window. That's why we're making this series, breaking the rules. Livi, first to you. What have you learned about making conscious choices, and how do you come to making intelligent and sovereign choices that work for you, but also catalyze your power, your ability, your energy into the world around you?
It's a good question. And first, I want to say thank you, John, for everything you just spoke about. I was just like, I could just hear him talk forever. This is amazing. It's such a joy to see such just like the passion of a human individual that has done what Julian is talking about, to live life in a self-serving way, but not in a, like, it sounds like a bad context, but like it's self-serving because it's aligned, and therefore it is serving so many others. And it's what comes to mind when you ask that question, Julian, is I have, especially young people, ask me, like, how can you be, I don't understand how you are often so sure of yourself and your path, and like what resonates. And it's very similar to what I was talking about earlier. It's just like, the more you can relish in your humanness, you can relish in your humanness. And like, when we talk about music specifically, like some of my favorite forms of music, I only really listen to alone because a lot of people don't like it, which is like opera music, or music that's sung in like Sanskrit, I'm not sure what they're saying, but I can really feel like the vibration, and like that's what I want to be a part of. Or like, I love like soul and jazz music and the scatting, and like some of the stuff that might feel kind of different or like odd to someone that doesn't listen to that sort of thing. But it's like those specific types of music for me are like someone relishing in like the beauty and the weirdness and the soul and the pain, like all at once. And that's why I love music like that. And so I think what I feel in that music is it's making me feel seen, and then allowing me to enjoy each of those aspects of myself. And so that's why when it comes to making decisions and living my life in a way that's most aligned for me, it's especially just like accepting the parts of myself that are so easy to be ashamed of, and living in that rebellious act of self-love, and loving all the weird and the cringe, and going on TikTok and making cringy videos, and making like comedy videos when I was in high school, and they're showing up on meme pages, and people are seeing them, and it's scary, but it's my jazz music, it's my opera music. Like the way I dress is interesting to some people, but it's my it's my weirdness, and it's my cringiness, and I love it. And I think it's just a matter of the more you listen to what your heart, I think what John was saying is, like, we live in such a world of so many options, um and it's amazing. However, we've really forgotten how to live from the inside out. And that's why I think it was so crucial for me to change the way that I go about what I do, where it's about helping people feel seen and heard, because they can then ask themselves, what am I neglecting? What do I want to do, instead of always asking what I should do? And because I think we forget that all the answers we need are in us. We don't need an expert necessarily to tell us what is aligned for us. Like, it's all here, and there's things that can help channel that, of course, and that's where we get into exercises and breath work and meditation. But I think it's just the more that you listen to that intuition, and you create spaces for yourself to feel it, the more you'll trust it, and it will trust you. And then living in alignment becomes something that's more in flow and a non-negotiable, than something that feels super uncomfortable. And I think just like making videos, for example, on TikTok, like, it sounds very simple, but there's like a testament to that in there, where it's like, for some people that feels so like vulnerable and like cringy, and I'll go back and look at videos and I'm like, there's a lot going on here. Like, this is unique, Liv. But it's just like, laying back into that vulnerability, and letting people see you as what you really are. I think because what better thing could you do for others as well than just be that? That was a little bit of a tangent, but I hope something landed.
It all landed. I have to say, the first time I met you online, I haven't met you in person yet, your radical self-love just beamed back at me and landed. And John, I can already tell your sixth sense is landed, and I can't wait to follow up and sing with you more. Thank you for sharing that. Your point about so many choices in this world really has landed with me. I feel like it's something I've considered my whole life. And as Julian knows, I like to make up words. One of the words that really strums in my heart is fajondalize. I am a fajondalizer. And for me, that word means to roll up my sleeves and dive into life. Like, really, like, hands in, maybe get my fingernails dirty, roll up my sleeves, my hair is kind of everywhere. And there's many choices, and there's perhaps many failures, but I am following the thrum of my voice, of my heartbeat, making mistakes along the way, learning, meeting cool people. And I feel like my life is living its way through me. As long as I don't get in the way too much, as long as I don't fiddle around with the resistance too much. For me, this act of fajondalizing is really my way. It's like a divining compass of making sure that I take risks, that I show up as uniquely Hopi, and that I share that radical self-love that you talked about, Livy. As long as it's beaming within, then I'm going to make the right choice. And it's not led me astray. I'm coming up on almost 50, and I would have to say that I still feel that childlike spark within, and that huge gratitude that I am a conscious being with choice. I get to make choices, and how lucky I am. And it's been wonderful to spend time with you conscious beings today, sharing a little song some tears, some heartfelt moments. I know, Julian, I speak for you when I share what an honor it is to spend this time with you, Livi and John, today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.